keeps us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Sorry, had to blow my nose first. All right, here we are. Yes. Freedom. Oh, so much better. Yeah. I think my wife was a little upset though. But I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. Every time I look out, every time I just see hair everywhere. No, I couldn't do it anymore. I like it nice and short. Man, come here. Don't run away. Come here. Mama, come here. Mama, come here. Why do you always run away? Come here. Hi, Michelle. This is Sawyer. He's the one you always hear meowing. The other two don't. They're a little bit younger. He's a little bit older. But I was living somewhere, and the owners who also lived there split up, and then they left the house, and they left this cat just sitting there. They just left him there. They never did anything with or anything. Huh? You were a big fat kitty too, weren't you? A little big, right? Long story short, he ended up staying with me, and when we moved, and he knew he was coming with us, he totally changed. He was this very offish cat, and now he's very, very social. He's very social because he knows he belongs somewhere, right? Yes, Michelle, I did. I had to. It's probably uneven. I need to redo it. I just did it real quick. I want to grow my hair long, but I'll be honest, I don't want to put the effort in necessary to maintain it. So, yeah, that and it's too hot. It's too hot. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. You can get down. He's like, I'm up here. All right. So, I usually don't do, yeah, that's not true. Fuck, I don't know. My birthday's coming up. I'm gonna have 8 years in 2 days, and whenever you start coming up on your birthday, you tend to reflect. Dude, I just gave you minutes of love. Man, yeah, we tend to do some reflecting, and I've got. I'm not going to tell my full story here, but I am going to reflect a little bit back when I was younger and in the program. Give you a little bit about me. Kittens. Here come all the cats. Here they come. They hear that window. They're like, "Oh, come in, Dad." Let's go back a little. Let's go back a little bit further. My first AA meeting was in, I think, 83 or 84. I was either 13 or 14, and my mom had sobered up, went through St. Luke's and gotten some help. I think she's coming up on 40 years of sobriety now. Good job, Mom. If I wouldn't have went back out, I'd actually only have like 4 years less than her. Yeah, I would. I wouldn't have. I'd be right behind her, but that's how it happens. So, my mom took me to meetings, but I also went with her because I was a mama's boy, and even though I was mad that she got sober and cut off my supply, I wanted to take stuff back. It was nice to have my mom back again. it was nice. Um, you know, I missed her a lot. I remember one day, man, she was on a fucking tear, just ripping into all of us kids, and I could see it. And see, I'd been to some AA meetings with her, and and I knew there was a meeting coming up, and I literally picked her up, took her to the car, and I said, "Go to a meeting. You need to go to a meeting." You know, and she's let me know that that day I may have saved her life. I don't know. I just knew it was the right thing for her to do. That's all I knew, right? So, what did AA teach me back then? Well, Alateen was pretty big, and why we don't see Alateen much anymore is I'm not, I'm gonna keep my opinion to myself on that one. I don't want to piss off any Al-Anons today. Not today anyway. Give me till tomorrow. I'll piss them off then. But so I was in Alateen, and I was taught that when you have an addictive personality, especially when you're an alcoholic, you are more susceptible to being addicted to harder drugs. Um, and that saved my ass. I would have been dead by the time I was 18 if I didn't have that information. Yeah, I would have been dead by then. Um, I would have found another drug that just, but I knew, and I didn't want to do that. You know, I was already an alcoholic. And, we're talking about 14 years old. Okay. What I should be doing is going to school, getting grades, and playing soccer. But those days were over by a few years already. Um, I loved playing soccer, but I had to stop. So, um, so my mom got sober, but I continued drinking, and I would get out of control. I got out of control by the time I was 14 and a half. My parents had had enough, and they put me in a place called Mount Airy Psychiatric Center where they wanted me to get some help. Um, and from there, I would just bide my time. I didn't want to change. You know, I had had to, I had had to overcome a lot by then already. Um, a speech impediment, lazy eye. I was a bedwetter till I was 11, 12 years old. I'm gonna go with 11. I think it was 12, but I'm not sure. It was 11 or 12. Yeah. See, I didn't do sleepovers. I didn't have people sleep over. Mm-mm. Are you kidding? You know how embarrassing that is? I was the kid that was up at 3 o'clock in the morning washing his sheets. That was me. I remember at one point, um, in order to help me get over it, was I had to lay on this metal thing, and it was connected to this alarm. If I peed the bed, it would sound this huge alarm that just woke up everybody up in the house. That lasted 2 nights. That lasted 2 nights, and I unplugged it. They're like, "Oh, you didn't whip the bed?" I'm like, "No, I just unplugged it." You know. Um, Now, as I got older and I got into what we call the system, I would have to learn how to become somebody else. Um, I was the naive little white boy from white suburbia wasn't going to cut it, and I would have to become dangerous. I would have to, or people will hurt you, man. Right? When I first got in, what I heard was, and I only did this when I was in jail. When I was in group homes, I didn't do it. Um, but yeah, jail for kids, sure. I was in juvenile lockup, sure I was. And the key there is you don't fuck with the quiet person. So I was used to being alone. I was used to being by myself. So I became the quiet person, especially when I was in jail. So people would not fuck with me. And I put this face on, which is an indifference. And what that tells is that somebody else is if you fuck with me, I'm going to stab you in the throat. See, I wouldn't actually. I don't really like violence. I'm not big on it. Just not. Um, so I would go through that, and I sobered up. Well, when I hit about 17, I had a couple of stints there where, at one point when I was 17, my mom let me move back in with her and her mom, with her husband Roger. Um, Obviously, I wasn't supposed to drink and drug, but I did. So that didn't last very long. But the reason that saying that is because there's a lot of times when I say, and then I was gone. But I got emancipated when I was 16 and a half. Okay. Um, so I was no longer, you know, I was my own person. But that also meant if I got in trouble, okay, I would be in trouble as an adult. I mean, you gotta be careful. During that time, um, when I got emancipated, I worked at this place called Skippers, which is like Long John Silver's, um, but Skippers, same damn thing. Uh, just fried fish, all you can eat, you know. And I hate fish. Um, so I got pretty good at that. And then when I moved to Arvada, um, my I was living with my mom and my stepdad, and there was a Skippers. It was over off 58th, and I went and applied, and it turned out that the manager there was my old manager from the other place. So I got hired immediately. I got put on as assistant manager, and I was doing that stuff. And one day I was working, and they were doing some new trainees, and there's this one girl who was one of the trainees. And I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, but I fell head over heels. I did. I don't know what it was. Now I'm gonna tell you, I didn't treat women nicely. I'm gonna tell you, I never went through the stage of hating girls. I just never went through it. So growing up, I was always looking for a girlfriend. And I got turned down all the time, all the time. So I just fucking gave up, And then when I started drinking, find out girls like me, then I found out, well, if you treat them like shit, you know, don't do that. Don't do that. This girl was different though. She was different. I don't. I didn't know why. I know now. I know now. Right? She was the complete opposite of me. And I asked her if she would go out on a date with me, and she said no. I did not like that answer. Right? Now I'm gonna let you know, and I'll tell you the story. I did chase her for 3 months. Okay, followed her home once, like 2.5 blocks. I already knew where she lived. I already had her phone number. I just took it out of her file. Right? I didn't dare use it though. I didn't dare use it. I would stop by and leave. You could have those comment cards and things like that. Excuse me. All right. But anyway, eventually she said she agreed to go out with me, and it was because her mom didn't want her dating. That was the reason why, right? And we would become pretty close pretty fast. But the thing is she was the complete opposite of me. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. In fact, I called her my goody little two shoes. Remember that song by Adam Ant? Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? Don't drink. Okay, there's a lot of innuendo in that song. You know that song and all that. You'll laugh at that. Anyway, all right. Well, we started going out, and of course, it didn't work with my mom. Things started getting worse for me. And eventually I would end up on Skid Row, which is where I went. Because my mom and my stepdad were not going to allow me to continue the behavior at their house. They just weren't going to tolerate that. And they'd had enough. So it was time for me to move on. And I did. And I tried to go back out there and make it, but I didn't. I couldn't make it. See, I wanted to do what it is that I wanted to do. I was playing God. Okay. And when I play God, I end up on Skid Row. Okay. And when I say Skid Row, I mean downtown with the bums. Okay. When I say homeless, I mean homeless. I had nothing. March 16th, 1989, my original sobriety date. And what had happened is a friend of mine said, "Hey, Dion, we can't do this. We're all going off to college. It was March. I wasn't going to college yet, but they said I couldn't hang out anymore. I couldn't sleep on their couches. They gave me $5. They're like, you're going to have to go find a place. And I ended up at a place called the Phoenix Concept. I was walking down the street. There was this other guy in front of me. And I remember his 7-Eleven bag and the six-pack. I'm like, ooh, six-pack. All right. Two of us worked that out. All right. It turns out it was Pepsi, by the way. It was not beer. All right. But he turns around. He's like, are you all right, man? And I wish I could remember this guy's name, man. I can see his face. I can see it clearly. I remember the leather jacket he was wearing. He ended up giving it to me eventually. What was his name? God, please tell me. Okay, but if it wasn't for him turning around and giving a fuck about me, I'd be dead. I told him what was going on. He said, come with me. And we only went like 20 more feet, right? And there was this big, dark, freaking building. It's middle of March. It's really, really cold. And what was neat about this place is the door didn't open inward, it opened outward, which was the first thing I ever noticed. The second thing I noticed was the AA symbol on the wall. And I thought to myself, well, fuck, it got me again. Okay. This wasn't my first time. I've been in treatment. I was at step 13 just before that. Okay. And I would have to give it all up. Turned out there was a 5:30 meeting. I went to it. I put the last of my money in that basket. I didn't know that they were a halfway house. I just knew I was there, and I was hoping to God I was going to get some help. And God gave it to me. He gave it to me. Turned out that this was a year-long program for homeless alcoholics. See those plaques behind me? I made those. When I was 19. Okay. I want to read to you the back. Here. Dear friends, and it's kind of faded, so I'll do my best. Thank you for taking this plaque. It probably has a defect or two, not quite perfect, very much like the people making and distributing them, right? Like a Skid Row alcoholic, imperfect. This thing's so imperfect. It has bubbles in it, all sorts of things, but that's what makes it beautiful. Each one is handmade from start to finish, reflecting any defects in material and workmanship. It carries a message of hope and can be used as a gift for many occasions. The Phoenix Concept Inc. is a nonprofit corporation committed to the ongoing research for the development of programs to help street people help themselves. That's right. It's what we used to call ourselves, street people. Okay? People help themselves. And People help themselves and salvage these from the trash heap of life, thereby allowing them to re enter the mainstream of society. This program was about reintegration back into society. Okay. Now, some of these people had not been working for years and they needed that year to get their stuff together. Okay. By making and distributing of such items as these plaques, we can establish and maintain facilities to help many people begin to recover from a seemingly hopeless place in life. By doing it this way, we can become self supporting and a self sufficient program through our own efforts, avoiding questionable donations or any government funding or monies. The Phoenix concept is around today and it's run by the government. It's run by government money. Ray would be pissed. He would be pissed. See, the thing that was so cool about the Phoenix concept, it was for street people, run by street people. We paid our rent every month by making this stuff and donating it and having events. Okay. But that also got destroyed by the whole government wants to take over our stuff. Okay. I'd eventually graduate. Right. During that time, now let's keep in mind, I had a girlfriend, and she was at this time she was 16. I was 18. She was 16. Okay, and we stayed together for. I'd have to ask her. I know how long we've been together now. Oh, I blew it. Yeah, same girl. I'm married to her now. I'm married to her now. Um, I'm going to tell you that story. Oh, did your brother lock himself out? Oh well. Um, I'll be on the West Side Drug Free Youth Team. It was a prevention team. We won the Governor's Award 2 years in a row. By the time I was 20, I was a drug and alcohol counselor. I worked detox. I worked treatment. I've done family counseling. I was the drug and alcohol counselor at Abraham Lincoln High School before I was legal age to drink. Yeah. My 21st birthday consisted of a cake and my mother coming over, and we watched 90210 Up. That was my 21st birthday. Oh, oh, yeah, but I think it's a good cynical. I think there sometimes we need to present it this way. Yeah. Where it's like it doesn't do the job that it used to. Okay. My next sponsor would actually be an alumni from the same program, but he would go through a different program. He was not allowed to be there during the day. We were required to stay there during the day. We went to 4 meetings a day. You think you did 90 and 90 a lot. I did like 400 meetings in 90 days. A lot different. Accountability's gone. See, I went down there to, and what sucks is for somebody like me who's an alumni, I get nothing. I've been given nothing for it. And I'm one of the first people that successfully made it through the program, and I'm still here. I'm a fucking success rate, man. I am. Ray Hayworth was my first sponsor. Yeah. Eventually, there would come a time, and I went out. When I got married when I was about 20, 21. When I have a child, I wasn't supposed to have children. Um, I didn't want to have kids. Don't let my kids hear me say that though. I didn't. I didn't. I didn't think I'd be a very good father. I want to be a father. So when my wife got pregnant, I was happy, but I was kind of pissed because she told me she couldn't get pregnant. felt a little duped. Anyway, I would get divorced, married again. Anyway, I would go out after about 12 years sobriety. What happened? Well, I stepped out of the sunlight of the spirit, man. That's all. That's what happened. What happened? I'm not going to go into the deep details on that, or I won't have anything for Friday when I tell my story, which will be probably different than this one, just so you know. I have a very, very long story. When I was, well, let's see, we've been together through, so I was about 40, 41. Um, well, right before I had turned 40, I had made a decision. I had a fiance, a bunch of roommates, and I came home one day. They all packed their shit and they'd left. Everybody just left. They didn't say anything to me. I felt extremely stabbed in the back. I'm not going to go into the specifics. I decided at this point that I was going to move out to California, and I was just going to drink myself to death. I'm like, well, then fuck everybody. If this is how people are going to treat me, then I'm going down in a blaze of fucking fire. Yeah, it didn't happen. I didn't even go to one fucking party while I was there. I found me a job and drank at home. Never even went to the beach. Lived there for a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And then something happened. And I got a friend request from my ex-girlfriend when I was younger. And you guys, you already know now because I already told you, but it was Shannon, my wife. Now, and I wasn't going to accept her friend request. I was going to turn it down. She'd actually sent me one before, and I had turned it down because I didn't want her to see how fucked up I had become. I was embarrassed. You know, she was one of those people, and you guys hear me talk about, where I give a fuck what they think of me. Right? So we would become friends, and we ended up talking like for the weekend, you know, about things like, you know, how close all these little things. She's like, you know, I'd walk through a store and I could smell you. And we had all these near misses and stuff. But the really neat thing is this, I didn't keep this. I'm an alcoholic. I don't keep shit. Shannon kept this stuff. Everything I ever gave her. She had a box called Dion's box. See, I always knew I was supposed to be with her. I knew that from the day I met her. I knew I was supposed to be with her. But it just wasn't time. Dion had to, I guess Dion had to do some stupid stuff first. He had to go learn life. And I'm glad she wasn't there for the whole thing because I might have run her off. Okay. Now, what was the benefit of this? See, as soon as that happened, I knew there was a point in my life when I was going to have to get sober. So I moved back. She got me my kids back, which I would proceed to kind of drink away again. Okay. She gave me my life back. But what she would do, you know, and she was no longer a goody two shoes. Well, yeah, she is. Compared to like me, but that's not fair to compare anybody. You know, and she would tell me things like, you know, I know the sober Dion. I know what the sober Dion does, right? Because she was there when I was at my lowest. She was there. When I was at my highest, she was there. There was one point that we had won the group I was in had won the governor's award for best prevention team, and there was a drug-free march and things like that, and we ended up at the Capitol. And when we got to the Capitol, the man that ran the team, Patrick Vigil, God bless that man, starting to miss my friends. Um, when you're in this program for a long time, you you meet a lot of people. And anyway, so he came up to me and he said, "Hey Dion, um, they wanted me to ask if you would be willing to say a few words after the governor speaks." Yes. And the weirdest thing happened. Right? I'm at this point I'm 19, but maybe I was still 18. I don't know. I don't remember. I was 18 or 19, and Shannon was there with me, and we were standing on the Capitol steps. And I remember thousands. It was packed everywhere you could see. I don't remember what I said. I kind of do. See, I'm one of those people where when I let God take over, he does his stuff, and he did it that day. And it was from that day that I knew I had something I needed to do. I know a lot of it was about, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, addiction will get you. And we don't care either. We're all one people. And I knew from that point on that my job was to help thousands of people. And I believe that to this day. Yeah. And anybody that gets to know me, anybody that takes a little bit of time to get to know me, you'll find out that I will do anything to help somebody else make it. I will. Now, when I got sober the second time, it would take me, I thought it was 2 years, but it was 4. I saw my big book the other day. I saw my old date in there. I'm like, oh, fuck. So for 4 years, I would try and get sober. I was in detox 22 times in 2 years. See, I kept putting myself in detox because I knew if I continued to take away my freedom, I would give up alcohol eventually. I knew that about me. So that's what I did. And even the people at detox said I was crazy, but I go there, I would ask for help, but they wouldn't be able to help me because they were not in recovery. Yeah. This time around hurt. It hurt a lot. The first time I got sober, there wasn't even a hangover. But the last time I drank a 6-pack and I detoxed for 2 weeks. That's some scary stuff. My wife would keep telling me, I know the sober Dion. I'm going to love you until he comes back. Okay. And she would say it like it was just fact. Kind of like how I knew when I was 17 or 18 or how 19 or however old I was that I knew what I was supposed to do. Well, she would say this to me as a matter of fact, that it was truth, because it was the truth. Because it was the truth. That when I am sober, when I'm in recovery, when I'm doing God's will, I help a lot of fucking people. I do the most amazing things in the world, and I don't know where they come from. I don't need to know. And thanks, Amber. Feels much better. How's my head? I mean, I think it looks good long, but now I feel bad because I tell my wife she's not allowed to cut her hair. I like her hair long, so she keeps it that way. Maybe it's time to let me. Maybe it's time for Dion to just let her wear her hair how she wants to wear it. I know my wife and I, we're a little weird, man. We're kind of old fashioned. Um, like when we first got together and we go do family things, this was really hard for me. She would go and get my food and bring it to me. I wasn't used to that. I'm like, don't do that. I can get my own food. She's like, but I enjoy doing it. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to take that away from her. And then her family got mad. Why are you serving him? She's like, because I like to do that. It makes me feel good. And I started to understand what she was saying. Okay. To us, that's service work. To us, that is service work. She helped me understand that why would you want to be mad at a person if you love them? And we never fight. That's mostly on her side, I can tell you that, because of her patience. But her and I, we just don't fight. Sometimes we have hard conversations, but we're never fighting. I could count on one hand how many times I've gone to bed mad at her. So I guess with all this reflecting, when all those people that did everything that they could to help us get sober, maybe it's time to go back and thank them for being patient with us, for being tolerant, for for being the right thing, right? Now we're going through it. Don't you know people in your life where you're just like, fuck, well, you just do what I'm doing. Okay. Now imagine what they went through. And they don't know what we know. So it'll be even more confusing. This was about the time. Um, this was about the time in my first sobriety, the first time go around, um, that I left AA. I wasn't in AA for years before I relapsed, but my anger would come back within probably 9 months to a year. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I don't want to ruin everything. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. Michelle, it was good to see you. Amber, I'm presuming you're back in town. I'm just trying to save enough energy for the 3 o'clock meeting because I haven't been to it in 2 or 3 days, so I need to get to it. So, but even though I'm feeling better, it's getting to that point of the day where it's like, okay, Dion. Yeah, you know how it is. You feel, yeah. I love you. Peace out and have a day. Bye bye. You too, Michelle. Love you, honey.